You know, this is probably the most important time ever to get out of your comfort zone because we are outside of 2024 now. We are heading into spring 2025, and this is the season where it's down to the wire. The decisions that you make today will definitely 100,000% dictate what happens in July, September, and October of 2025. I always love this season every year, ever since we started our company, ever since we moved to Africa, because back in both 2016 and 2020, we realized that this was such a critical season in time. We realized that coming out of winter for us back in 2020, we were like, okay, we want to move abroad. We know we're not going to get jobs abroad. We know we have a side hustle type business, and we know, we're making 2,000, 4,000 every month, but we know we want to hit like that 10K range. This is back in 2020. We know we're going to need to elevate and have X, Y, and Z amount of money before landing in Africa. We're going to have a business that's sustainable for not just 1 month or 2 months. We're going to have repeated success over a longer period of time. We know we're going to have to invest at a higher level because there's knowledge that we just didn't have as entrepreneurs back then, because we were very early in our journey of entrepreneurship. We're 9 years in now, but back then we were 4 years in. Okay, in Columbus, Ohio, in the Midwest, it's not like a city like San Francisco or New York City or even Atlanta. Columbus, Ohio, the Midwest, it's very calm, it's very safe, but it's also very much not a startup place necessarily. It's not a place where you have access to a lot of those like resources and entrepreneurs and mentorship. And so it's like, okay, using what we do have, using the resources we do have, what are we going to do? What are we going to invest in our business to take it to the next level before we fly out to Ghana? Because at that time we thought we were traveling to Ghana. We ended up going to Tanzania. And so I need to ask you these questions as well, because we're coming to March in a couple of days. And it's like, who are you now? Who you are now does not agree with the future you, because who you are now has gotten you to the circumstance that you are in up to this point to reach who you are now. But who you want to be in 2025, late 2025, is deeply dependent on the identity that you choose to activate right now before you reach the reward and the harvest of late 2025. Let me know if that makes sense. Meaning, before you step in and say, okay, I'm somebody that lives in Africa, I get to fly from South Africa to Ghana, I'm living on the continent full time, I'm enjoying my life, you have to embody that mindset before it comes into the physical. Okay, you have to embody that before. Before we were leaving the West, we would literally meditate and pray on being in Africa, imagining what it would feel like to touch down, imagining our business being wildly successful, imagining serving clients, even picking out like, hey, we're going to land at this hotel, then we're probably going to find a house in this neighborhood, and then I'm sure the internet will be great in that neighborhood, so we'll be able to still serve our copywriting and marketing clients and the agency, and then we'll be able to hire people. And we'll hire people into our business as contractors, operations managers, online business managers, and executive assistants for our social media accounts so they can grow everything while we're taking this 34-hour flight. That was the entire length of the flight time. This 34-hour flight from Miami, Florida to East Africa. Because we know when we land, we have children, we're gonna just wanna chill and do fun stuff with them and have somebody run the business for a certain time frame to keep everything up to date. We knew we were going to batch our emails, our social media strategies, our content marketing strategies. We had set everything around our calendar so that we could land without having to get on calls immediately. Okay? This is the necessary work that has to be done. This isn't optional work. This isn't something where you can just like show up and be like, oh, I don't have any plan. A lot of times when people don't have a plan, it's a plan to fail. I'm going to repeat that. When you don't have a plan, you actually do have a plan. It's a plan to fail, okay? That's why the word says, write the vision, make it plain. And it's time, it won't delay. And so who are you now, and who do you need to show up as? What attributes about your current identity do you need to let go of? Maybe notoriously, when you would take courses or when you would read books on marketing, business development, or if you were looking into getting some type of mentor, you were the type of person that would ask questions that were not focused on that specific industry. Or you would be like, no, I'm not going to do it. I want to do it my own way, and kind of have like this knucklehead of like, oh, I don't really want to do it that way. I know I just paid for this program, but I think I'm going to do it my way. Like, if that was notoriously what you did in the past, you need to make a cognizant decision to say, okay, I know that's a flaw that I had in the past as a newer entrepreneur, and that's probably why my business isn't off the ground, because when I get around people who are wiser than me, I try to act like I know more in this particular industry. And if that's something that you have symptoms of, just, forgive yourself and don't do it anymore. Next time when you get in a program, say, you know what? Even if it doesn't make sense to me with my limited scope, because you have not been in marketing, business development, finance, whatever it is, whatever you're getting mentorship in, because I have not been in that industry for whatever set period of time your mentor has been in that industry or your consultant has been in that industry, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to just do the work until it works. I'm just going to do it, because if I don't give up, I can't fail. Meaning, if you're constantly taking the action steps that your teacher, your advisor tells you to make, you cannot fail. But if you get into this motion of comfortability and stagnancy, a pattern that you may have, which is why you're seeking programs and mentorship to help you stay accountable. Like, if you know you're someone that is not accountable without other people, coaching and consulting is excellent for you. Having a strategic advisor. I'm the type of person, when I was a school child, I would listen to the teacher intently without asking questions. I'm going to tell you why I'm like that. I've notoriously been like that as a small child. From my perspective, the way my brain works, I do not ask 30 questions. I barely even ask one question, because it honestly takes time to even process information. So as a child, I would just sit and process the information, try the actual practice. Then if I got to the practice, doing the math problem, doing the word problem, doing whatever exercise, writing the paper, then when the teacher grades it, then I can have feedback and have a proper question. But a question out of its season is just a distraction to the totality of your current assignment. So when you're trying to learn something and you allow your mind to be constantly bombarded with questions instead of just soaking in the information and trying to practice it in real time, it creates an issue. And that's why you have children with like ADHD, you have children that have some of these learning disabilities, because they're not able to just sit, soak in the information, apply the information, and then ask questions, right? That's just something that is like a tangible example, especially from my background and how I learned in school. And I'm still like this in programs. If I get into a mastermind, I'm soaking in the information and I'm doing everything I'm told to do, even if I'm like, that's weird, that don't make sense. I remember I was going through a program for live videos, okay? Spent a good amount of money on understanding how to do live videos, because I'm a writer. I don't do live videos. Back then, that was my mind. I had to change my mind. Okay. Back then I was like, I'm a writer. I don't do live videos. Now I'm like, I'm a CEO. I must do live videos and continue my blogging and continue my email marketing and continue my website copy. Okay. You see that transition? But I was somebody that didn't do live videos. And so one of the instructions was so detailed, and I still remember it to this day because it was so like detailed and nuanced. She had us do 9 live videos, title them, do the market research to figure out what the titles were going to be for these live videos on Instagram. Now, I'm gonna let you know, I'm gonna fast forward just so you know. Now Instagram is the main place I acquire clients. So I'm glad I listened when I didn't understand, okay? But going back, the first 4 videos, she said, do not have a call to action. I'm a copywriter, I'm a marketer, I'm a marketing specialist. I'm like, do not have a call to action. Huh? What? Look, when you go to copywriting school, okay, you take those courses and you work in these marketing agencies, they tell you to put a call to action on every single thing. She said, don't put a call to action. I didn't ask why. I had questions in my head like, ooh, that's a little pushback from what I'm used to learning. But I was in a season where I was trying to get to Africa. I was trying to get my business further off the ground to hit 10K months consistently. So I was trying to hit a certain level. And at that level, I knew what was required was sheer sheep-like obedience without all of this backtalk questioning. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do exactly what she says. I may not understand all of it completely. And this is from someone that's in marketing, 4 years in marketing at that point in 2020, 2019. And so I did the instructions. I did exactly as I was told. And I did this while we landed in Tanzania. So it started a little bit before, but I continued the entire cycle of doing exactly what my advisor told me to do. And guess what? Now today, Instagram, for me, for my business, for our enterprise, we can sign 55K contracts on Instagram, which wasn't true before that point. So what I did, I let that information soak in, and I did have questions that I was like, I don't think that's what I did. But I was like, no, be quiet, be obedient, because obedience is better than sacrifice. Be obedient. There's a time to have questions, and there's a time for just sheer obedience, okay? Just like put your head down, knowing, hey, I know what I invested in. I know the entrepreneur, the advisor that I invested in, and I trust what they're saying. And so I'm like, I'm just going to be obedient. It's like that with faith too. It's like that when you travel, you're like, well, I know the Most High sent me, so I'm just going to be obedient and do exactly as I'm told. The most successful entrepreneurs, the ones that get over the 5-year hump in business where people have this resistance as entrepreneurs, are those who are obedient, because you're never going to know it all, ever. And if you think you know it all, you already lost. If you think you know it all right now, I don't care how old you are. If you think you know it all right now, you are already lost, and you already lost the game of entrepreneurship, because being a CEO is a game. You have to look at it that way. You have to come in high spirits. You have to come in gratitude. You have to come ready to do what's required. And so this is a question that I cannot answer for you. I can't tell you if you're willing to do what's required. You have to tell yourself and ask yourself, are you willing to do what's required, or are you not? Are you willing to make sure September, October, and November 2025 look radically different than last year, with you ending up living your best life in Africa while running your education consulting business online and serving clients in multiple territories? Or are you willing to just play the same stagnancy game that you played last year and do the same exact steps, that comfort level that just keep you swaying back and forth between comfort to comfort? What's required right now in this season is an elevation past comfort. Let's elevate past comfort. I always do this. Always. Even coming to Mauritius. Do you think that's like a comfortable, like, oh, it's just a comfort? Obviously, it's more comfortable to stay where you've been. Obviously, it's more comfortable to go where you know a lot of people are. But I'm the type of person, and this is why I'm successful as an entrepreneur. I'm the type of person, I'm willing to go the extra mile into territory that's uncharted, where just a few people know about, where just a few people have been. Drop a comment down below if you're like that as well. I'm willing to go beyond what most people want to do that's popular. I'm willing to be the outlier in the data set, meaning statistically, you have a graph, let's say a lot of the population is in a certain demographic, and it's just the bar is up here. I'm willing to be the outlier that goes the extra mile to get what I want to get done, to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And if you're like that, drop a comment below and say, me too, sis. Because that, honestly, in 2025, when we think about the economy, when we think about all the shifts that are happening in governments around the world, that's required. That's required more than in 2020. And our business exploded in the middle of a world pandemic. So when you have these questions of like, well, how will my business flourish in economic turmoil, and when all these policies and all this, we're not advocating for your destruction. On this side of the internet, we advocate for your success and your longevity. So we don't do that on this side of the internet. On this side of the internet, we talk about how you're going to have longevity in business and in life. And the practical steps you can take now. So yeah, you're gonna have some cognitive dissonance, which is essentially when you're like, oh, I wanna go back to my comfort zone. Oh, I know I should do this, but I'm not doing this. And this is an exercise I did with myself yesterday, to be quite honest. I have my notes so y'all can see. I don't AI generate these talks I have with you. These talks I have with you come after going into prayer and journaling, to be quite honest, okay? because I have an internal intrinsic belief that the Most High's divinity and downloads that he can and has and continues to download into me are more valuable than any chat GPT, any AI, any DeepSeek, whatever they got out there now. Okay. But I was journaling yesterday and I was looking at our client data across both Black Educators Amplified and Tiffy G Writes. I haven't done that practice before, but I was praying, I was meditating, and the Most High says, take inventory. But this time, don't take inventory on just one, or don't take inventory on doing them separate. Take inventory on both businesses together. Okay, so I took inventory on both businesses together. I laid down all the clients from 2022 to 2025 between both enterprises, both segments of the market that we serve. On the Tiffy G Wright side, the 9-year marketing agency, we served real estate, finance, and like med spas. Okay, some healthcare providers, but mainly finance and real estate. About 85% of our market has been finance and real estate over the last 9 years. And so that's the market we serve. These are entrepreneurs who are typically over 7 years in business, or they're hitting 500K, multi-millions in revenue on the Tiffy G Wrights marketing agency side. On the Black Educators Amplified side, we're serving entrepreneurs who are their first 0 to 5 years in business. These are people who have to work up the muscle of entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is a muscle. It's a muscle to stop thinking like a 9-to-5 worker. It's a muscle to show up every day, even when your body's telling you, I actually don't want to show up. It's rainy outside. I want to Netflix and chill. Because I have clients, I have happy clients, I have everything I need. Let me just Netflix and chill. It's so easy. Look, y'all see that? Y'all see that rain? I wanted to Netflix and chill right here instead of doing this video. And I did a live on my Instagram before doing this video. Why? Because I'm willing to show up as the CEO that I'm required to be, that's going to reap the benefits in late 2025. I'm the type of person, I like to reap benefits that I will be happy for later on. I don't want to have regret. I don't want to look at the last few months and be like, oh, I should have went live. Oh, I should have did more videos. Oh, I should have showed up the way I know I was told to. I'm not that person, okay? And you may not be either. But I was sitting down, my apologies. I was sitting down and I was journaling after doing my prayer, and I wrote out in my purple ink on a different page the patterns that I was seeing between Tiffy G Wrights and Black Educators Amplified. And I was like, okay, so how am I scaling this? 9 years in business, new group coaching program that's over a year old. How am I scaling this? What are my operational efficiencies looking like? What is my communication strategy looking like as I go into the rest of 2025? And I came to one conclusion. It's one word, and it should be so simple. I preach this word all the time, but sometimes you need to speak it to yourself. Focus, Focus. Focus. That was the one word I came down to, because there's patterns. I was like, oh, people who come to me are in academia, so they're very smart people. They have bachelor's, they have master's degrees. They work a 9-to-5 and have their side hustle business. They have their LLC established. They've tried doing their business, but it's not quite working yet. They have website copy, but it's not well written, like an expert copywriter wrote it. They have, ideas of what they'd like to do, but they need to tighten up their marketing and business development and create sales engineering in their businesses. And most of them have the goal, which isn't surprising, of moving to Africa or moving back to Africa, because we also have a lot of people that reach out to us from Nigeria and Kenya, for whatever reason. It's those two countries. I'm just telling you the data from Nigeria and Kenya that want to work with us, okay? So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And it was the same pattern with Tiffy G Wrights. Even in Tiffy G Wrights, people that work with us are connected to the continent, connected to international travel, and they think on a higher level than most CEOs do, which is why they've gotten the results that they've gotten. This is why they're multimillionaires. They can hit 500K in record time because they're willing to do what regular people are not willing to do. Okay? And so seeing this pattern, I'm like, okay, great. So now I'm going to double down. I'm only going to focus on Black Educators Amplified. I said, I'm not doing any more travel consults. I'm not even going to do anything with Dream Life Africa. We're going to decommission it. I'm not doing anything else that subtracts from Black Educators Amplified and Tiffy G Wrights. I'm not. I'm going to be so all in and so focused because that's the attention that's required if we want to get this program to Kenya, to South Africa, to Botswana, to Ghana, to Burkina Faso, to Senegal, to Morocco. If we're serious and we want to scale this in multiple territories and be able to hire coaches and consultants to say what we say, do what we do, then the focus has to be all in. So no more travel consults, no more like, oh, can you help me move abroad? No, I cannot. I cannot help you move abroad. No more save the diaspora. I was like, focus. It was such a clear answer, writing it out, journaling it out, praying it out. Like, I'm literally just going to focus. I'm going to be so focused that it's not even going to be funny. I'm going to be so focused that to people that are unfocused, it's going to look scary. It's going to look like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? Why is she so focused? That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Same thing for Tiffy G Writes. We have anchor clients that we have worked with for years, finance clients. And so what I realized in 2023, 2024, I was like, you know what? I've made the same amount of income and more off of 1 to 2 clients, anchor clients, corporate clients. And I used to make that income or a little bit less working with 10 different clients. Can you imagine the levels of entrepreneurship? It's such a good feeling. But I was like, man, I keep getting into this cycle of, hey, I gotta post all this stuff on social media. I need to be signing like these low ticket clients just because that's what I was used to doing. I was like in a cycle, essentially. I was in a hamster wheel of low ticket clients. Like, I was just serving anybody who came along. But now it's like, no, your expertise past 2022 has reached such a level that corporations that do hundreds of millions in revenue want to have you as their retention marketing specialist and have had you. Finance companies that find you on Instagram that do serious revenue want to put you on retainer for 12 to 24 months at a time. And so I had to make the decision. I was like, that means I have to let go all of the lower ticket clients. That means I have to be done with that, done with like small business. And these are still small businesses, but they're small businesses that do 500K to 3 million in revenue, okay? And so I was like, wow, I just have to be done with that chapter of Tiffy G Writes. It was like a death to part of the business to expand into a new area. And it was difficult from a cognitive place because remember, up until the 7-year point in business, I was working with 10 different clients, 15 different clients sometimes, you know, while living in Africa. Yeah, that's what I was doing. But I reached a point now where it's like, wow, I've worked with credit unions. I've worked with banks. I've been able to scale these large, enormous firms as an international marketing specialist. And the most beautiful thing about that is when they get on the phone with me and I tell them I'm in Africa, they're like, oh, that's so cool. I would have small ticket clients, small players that would be like, oh, I don't want to work with you. You're in Africa. But the big ones were like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. It's different at the top. It's different when you work with high level CEOs. And I started to realize, I'm like, why are like corporate people, why are high level CEOs who they have this, what do you call it? They have this stereotype out that like rich people are just rude and all of these things. Rich, wealthy people that are not like Jeff Bezos. I'm not talking that type of rich. I'm talking just $1 million, $5 million in revenue, okay? Wealthy people are much more kind and compassionate than people who are not wealthy. And I started to ponder on this. I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, this is kind of crazy, ain't it? That's against all the stereotypes. So I just started pondering on it. I journal about it. I write about it. And I realized a lot of people are in poverty and are broke and are in a circumstance that they cannot get past because they are not kind, because they do not have gratitude, and because they are not generous. It's strange in the world where you have middle-class people that are starting their small business, willing to invest $50K in student loans, $100K, $150K, $200K, willing to buy Beyonce, good deliverance, Beyonce concert tickets, not Beyonce, wow. Y'all, Beyonce concert tickets, willing to invest buku money on weaves, willing to invest buku money on just traveling around Hawaii, not investing in their business. But on the corporate side, it's a totally different mindset. On the marketing business developer side, even with immigrant communities, because I work with a lot of immigrant communities in America. I work with African immigrants in America who have come to America and accomplished their American dream. And I realize these people are so chill. They're so carefree. They're willing to invest and they don't flinch. Like, they'll invest. They're like, oh, it's going to be $55K per year. Great, let's get started, because they see the value. And so it was such a cognitive dissonance moment where I'm just like, this is weird. Like, this is strange. This goes against like everything that you assume and certain stereotypes that you have in your mind of wealthy people. And so I was like, okay. Now that I'm seeing these patterns, it's now apparent that a lot of the reason entrepreneurs, small businesses struggle is because this is the spirit they have. They have a spirit of struggle, a spirit of like this tenseness, this aggression. And it's like, deep breathe. Don't over critique yourself. Don't over critique everybody else. If your scriptures say that you should be acting in accordance to Galatians 5, it should be like that in all seasons and in most interactions you have with humanity. There shouldn't be any excuses. We are without excuse, especially when we're CEOs and entrepreneurs and we want to reap good things. I think something that's so disheartening about the Christian church and about the church in general, or if you're a previous Christian, whatever you like to call yourself, Israelite Christian, whoever you like to call yourself, Catholic, Presbyterian, Baptist, whoever. I think it's so interesting that those people that are religious in the congregations are some of the most twisted people you can meet. No generosity, there's no kindness, and there's no willingness to even value and invest in themselves. And it speaks to the quality of leadership that goes on inside of these churches and inside of these colleges and these places. It's like, what kind of environment are we sending students into from 18 to 25 where they come out excruciatingly aggressive, excruciatingly unable to invest in themselves, excruciatingly unable to do critical thinking? What kind of environment are we sending people through? And this is why I'm so big on entrepreneurship. I'm so grateful that in the middle of being in college, switching from nursing to psychology, sitting in a patient's room when I was working in a psychiatric hospital on night shift, I wrote, just like I do today, a business plan on paper, notebook paper. Actually, back then it was printer paper. I got the printer paper out the nurse's station. Now, a lot of people be like, oh, I can't do that. I'm on the clock. The clock ain't gonna wait for no one. The clock be there tomorrow too. So I got my printer paper. I got my pen. Went in the patient's room because I had to watch the patient. They were on a suicide watch, okay? So I had to be with them, but they were sleeping. It's the middle of the night. I'm like, okay, I don't want to fall asleep. So I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write my business plan. This was 2017. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write my business plan. I'm gonna write down my prices. I didn't know how I was gonna get there. I didn't even have my website properly functioning. Back then, you could still look on www.tiffygwrites.com, but not for long because I'm changing my domain. But you can still look at it. And I was literally writing about motherhood, being a mom, college, and natural hair care. That's all I knew. I could only write about what I knew back then. But I still wrote my business plan. I didn't have to have all the answers. I'm the type of person, I've never had to have all the answers. And I understand that I never will have all the answers, but I'm willing to take swift movement whether I have the answers or not. Because I know that the reward and the harvest that I'm looking to get is not dependent on me having all the answers. It's dependent on me being obedient to the action steps that I must take daily to get to the level that I want to be at, whatever that level is. You're the only one who can tell what that level is for you. For you as an education consultant that wants to go global, that wants to move to Africa, it could be, hey, I want to have my website traffic to the point where I have 2,000 monthly viewers coming in from my blogs. Or for you, it could be, hey, I want to start my apprenticeship so I can take it to Burkina Faso and Ghana. For you, it could be, hey, I want to expand my functional medicine practice and insert some mental health aspects in there so I can do telehealth for people all over the globe, not just in America, but I want to start it in America and expand it into different territories. For you, it could be, hey, I want to be a homeschool tutor, a reading tutor, somebody that analyzes testing for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade from my home because I know I don't want to teach English when I get to said country. I know I don't want to try to teach English in China. I know I want to start my own legacy and my own business and have already started it, but just don't know how to push it further. So I'm here to let you know you're not going to have all the answers. You'll never have all the answers, and it will never be the perfect time. And with that information, I want you to just ask yourself, who are you now? Who do you want to be? Who do you need to show up as? And are you making decisions that the September, October, and November 2025 version of you is going to be proud of? I know I am. I'm an expert at it now. I know how to make the difficult decisions. I know when that bit of anxiety rises up in me before I make an investment, I'm like, I'm doing it quicker this time. I know when that bit of anxiety rises up, oh, I got to change my website domain. That's something I'm going through now in business, y'all. www.tiffygwrites was on WordPress for 8 years. We hit 9 years in April, but I don't think we're going to stay on WordPress. I think that, actually, I know we're not going to stay on WordPress because that was part of my journaling yesterday, that we're not staying on WordPress, okay? We're staying on lead pages. Lastly, what I'll end this video with is, I was looking at lead pages. They upped their prices by 4 times. Lead pages is a domain for landing pages, beautiful landing pages. And I use them for acquiring new leads. This is an advanced marketing tactic. I'm not going to get into it because we don't have time right now. But lead pages quadrupled their price in a month. They quadrupled their price. And I was like, man, at first I was irritated. At first I was like, oh my gosh, lead pages quadrupled their price. I'm going somebody different, blase, blase, blah. And as I'm journaling, the Most High is reminding me, you know, you are a CEO of 9 years. Why are you acting like that? You know, you do have resources. Why are you acting like that? And I was like, I don't really know. Why am I acting like that? I had to be honest with myself and be like, wait a minute. Because that was an old pattern that I was used to. Like, oh, I don't want to pay for lead pages that quadrupled their rate. But you know the ROI. The ROI is already proven. You already got 64% more leads than last year because you used lead pages. You already know you had 8 speaking engagements last year and you have not put those on your website and updated them. You already know you tried to DIY some templates last year and bought it from a website designer and it did not work out. Pay the extra money. Ma'am, I was speaking to myself. Pay the extra money to have high quality, to have convenience, to have certainty, to have confidence, have a bit of rest. Because with lead pages, I've already used them, so I already know how they work. With lead pages, once it's up, it's functioning, you don't have to worry too much. I've run into issues with WordPress, and it's like, what do I even do? Like, I don't have time. And so I'm like, okay, yes, they quadrupled their rate, and yes, I'm about to pay that rate today, right? Because we have big investments to make. We have big moves to make. All of my blogs, I need to transition them from TiffyGWrites to this new domain that's probably just going to be tiffygwrites.com.org something. It's going to be something along those lines. It's just going to be a play on words, switching domains. And so I'll leave you with that story because that's an actual thing I went through yesterday. I was doing so much. And again, it was all in my notebook. Okay, I have so many notebooks. If y'all could see how many notebooks I have, y'all would be like, she don't play. She's like an actual writer. She literally writes I literally write everything. And so, yeah, that's what I'll leave you with. Look forward to Black Educators Amplified Cohort 6. We're doing the last session of Cohort 5 on Sunday. It has flown by, which means we do have a few slots available for those of you who want to join Cohort 6. More information will be shared on that. Right now, we're still doing the one-to-one Black Educators Amplified sessions. The link to the application is in the description if you'd like to apply. We just had somebody else apply about a few hours ago. And so the applications are coming in. We do not accept everybody, so please understand. If you're one of those people that answers questions with a one-liner, let me take you back to school. In school, I'm a writer at heart. I got the best grades in writing and language arts, and I would always fill in with complete sentences. They ask one question, you're supposed to answer it in complete sentences. That's always what I would do. That's a practice I have. With these applications, please take up that mindset, because if you're doing a one-liner, that tells me that you're probably not serious about your business. And if you're not serious about your business, I definitely can't be serious about your business. I can't be more serious than you about your business, okay? So if you really do want assistance, then please fill it out to its entirety. Add all the details that you can possibly think because they are questions that are not like yes and no answers. They are questions that you have the space and capacity to beef up, because we do not accept all applications. Applicants who are denied, unfortunately, we cannot respond back to you. And so if you do not hear anything back from us, then we can't work with you. But those of you who actually do submit your applications, and we see your work history, we see your career history, your trajectory, where you're going, what your operational efficiencies look like right now, whether you have a website or not, what your content marketing plan has been in the past up till now. When you fill that out adequately and we're like, oh, this person resonates with Black Educators Amplified, they resonate with the program, and we would love to invite you, then you'll receive an email within 48 to 72 hours of your submitted application. And so we look forward to working with you. It is cyclone time here in Mauritius, but it's like, y'all know, in Ohio, at least in the Midwest, we have tornadoes, and it's much, much worse. So it's just rainy. So that's what we've been doing in Mauritius. We've just been in the cyclone, which is just rain. I swam earlier today, had to get my exercise in. But that is it for this video. Shalom, shalom. I will see you in the next one. Check out the resources in the description. Black Educators Amplified playlist, TiffyGWrites.co blog, free 6-day marketing course, how to attract clients in 21 different high caliber ways. All of those are at the link in the description. I'll see you next time. Shalom, shalom.